What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Trust the Bank podcast. Now, if you guys don't know, we finally got an updated logo. I had previously just been using the TTB logo. Originally, we did used to have an old logo, but I wasn't a huge fan of it ever really. I always like the TTB logo a little bit better, but I decided to work on one. I put it up on Twitter. I put it up on YouTube posts. I had a couple that I made, and you guys really seem to like the one that we ended up selecting, which obviously says Trust the Bank podcast. If you guys don't know how this works, we record every single Wednesday for doing the Trust the Bank podcast. And we also do live streams on the weekend, which we then upload to the podcast platform. YouTube recently added a feature where you can have a podcast posted on YouTube. All of those live podcasts will be posted on there. And then all of the other podcasts, those are segmented out and parts of them are posted onto the YouTube side. But we also will be having, exclusive content over on the podcast platforms. And that's where we'll be doing our giveaways and such. We'll be saying like, oh, hey, email us this phrase, first person to do it wins a jersey, something like that. We're working on it. But this episode, this is going to be a lot of fun. We're doing a live episode. Joshua will be in here in a little bit. But overall, Lamar Jackson is the topic. Lamar Jackson is the person that we're talking about today because the tag deadline is Tuesday. We need to figure out what's the best option for the Baltimore Ravens if they don't agree to an extension. Because obviously that's the hope. The title of this is, should the Ravens try and do the non-exclusive tag or the exclusive tag? The hope is that Lamar Jackson signs an extension. This is if they don't agree to a deal in the next 2 days, what should the Ravens do? I put up a poll on the YouTube side. We'll talk about those results at the end. So if you're listening on the podcast platform, we'll be talking about that eventually. But I'll also put out a poll on the podcast platforms as well to see what you guys all think. Let me know, if you have any questions or stuff like that. But I want to kind of explain the exclusive versus the non-exclusive tag and kind of what overall that means. The biggest difference is whether or not Lamar Jackson is able to communicate with other teams. Right? The exclusive tag is, all right, Lamar, you're with us. Maybe we grant you permission to, reach out to other teams and then, maybe we work out a trade, but most likely it's no, you're with us. You do not talk to anybody. You play for us this year and we'll see what happens next year. And we're going to continue to try and extend you throughout the offseason so that you don't have to play on the tag. But this is we are keeping you. That is what we want to do. The non-exclusive tag is non-exclusive. That means Lamar Jackson can go out to any team that he wants in free agency and say, hey, I want to sign a deal with you. Maybe he goes over to the Falcons. Maybe he goes over to the Jets. Maybe he goes over to the Raiders. I don't know. There's a lot of teams that could potentially be using a quarterback. If they are, and Lamar Jackson agrees to a contract, let's say Lamar goes, okay, I agreed to a 5-year, $250 million deal, fully guaranteed. If that happens, the Ravens then have the option to go, yeah, we'll pay him that. And then the Ravens sign him. And the Ravens get him on that contract, and he is under contract with the Baltimore Ravens. That's the extension. If the Ravens look at that contract and they go, man, we don't want to pay 5 years, $250 million fully guaranteed. Then the Raiders sign Lamar Jackson. They sign him, and they have to send over 2 first-round picks. That is the price of the non-exclusive tag. It's a pretty good option. The non-exclusive tag, you also pay the quarterback or pay the player a lower amount. So if, like, let's say, I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. I want to say it's like $42 million for the exclusive tag, like 40 for the non-exclusive. You pay less. So that's the benefit of the non-exclusive. And Joshua's coming in here. Let's add him in. Joshua, how you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. How everybody doing this evening? We got 2 more days, so 24 hours, was it like 36 hours since I'm change or something like that?
Yeah, we got very little time for this contract to get completed.
Yeah.
First off, what are you thinking? Like, are you thinking a deal gets done at all, prior to this tag deadline, or do you think the Ravens end up waiting and having to use a tag on
it? Okay, excuse me, guys. So honestly, right now I do not feel like I don't feel like the contract get done. I do feel like they actually do put him on the tag, just for the simple fact that I do feel like the Rave. I feel like the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, they're probably much coming to an agreement where they still want, where Lamar Jackson still wants to prove it to himself. That's the only way I see this deal getting done. If Lamar is asking for massive numbers, I feel like they would give him a massive number type of deal. But right now, it's the Ravens organization is pretty much on some type of on the type of energy of, if we give you this deal, what do we get in incentive type?
Mhm.
So I mean, it's nothing wrong for a business when you're doing contract negotiations. We all, in the working world, we all sat down with our bosses, when it came to, raise time, and they looked at the metrics. They saw them, and they looked at our body of work, how long we've been there, and saw what we did and contribute to the company. So I think it's pretty much one of those type of things right now in the organization. So I mean, you and I both would love for a long term contract to get done, but right now I don't see it happening.
Yeah, and just because the Ravens don't agree to a contract before Tuesday doesn't mean they can't agree to an extension whatsoever, right? I think a lot of people get worried that someone gets put on the tag. It happens all the time where guys get signed to the tag,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then they end up signing that extension. And maybe sometimes those guys get signed to the tag and then they sit out, they hold out, and things like that to be able to get exactly what they want. But you know what? Overall, I think it's something where it's like the best option is to sign him before. But maybe the Ravens are looking at free agency and they're like, you know what? I don't think anyone's going to pay Lamar what he's asking. And if that's the case, the non exclusive tag is the best way to go. And I think a lot of people are afraid of that because, and Daddy, you got me again, Daddy. Bondrude said using the non-exclusive tag on Lamar just feels rude. It's telling him he's important to the team, but not top priority. Has to be exclusive or a deal, in my opinion. I'm going to disagree with this because I think it's something where it says, you know what, Lamar Jackson, we respect you. We want you to, see the option. And if somebody's willing to give you what you're offering, we'll match it. Like we'll see what it is, and we can figure out if you want to do a deal here or not. Because the Ravens could be looking at it and just going, we'll make up a number. Lamar wants a fully guaranteed deal. Okay. What is the most amount of money that another team will pay Lamar in a fully guaranteed deal? And you would have to agree to it. Maybe it's 50 million a year, maybe it's 45 million a year. We don't know exactly because the last time a player agreed to a 50 million or a fully guaranteed deal is Deshaun Watson. And it did not work out very well because the Cleveland Browns traded 3 firsts and paid him a fully guaranteed deal. And it's not working out, right? It could work out. I'm not trying to negate the options for that success story potentially, but it's not looking so good right now. The Ravens could be like, yeah, people aren't going to give a fully guaranteed deal that's insane. So if you go on the non-exclusive and you agree to a fully guaranteed deal, we'll match it. We'll pay you as much as any other team will pay you. And if Lamar agrees to some crazy deal that the Ravens are like, you know what, we just can't pay. Like, I feel like it's doing right by Lamar by giving him the option. Like, in terms of how Lamar would feel, I think the non-exclusive is the best because it's saying, hey, we want, like, if you want to test the open market and reach out, like, that's fine, but we're still tagging you. We want to keep you. We will pay you whatever, and we'll keep that. I feel like even if he signs the non-exclusive, doesn't mean the Ravens are trading him away. It means they want to see what other teams would pay because they could take it's a risk, but they could easily risk because Lamar would get an offer. Lamar would easily get an offer from the Jets. He would get an offer from probably the Raiders,
Or
potentially
the
the
Panthers.
Falcons. He'd get offers.
Yeah.
But are those offers better than what the Ravens are offering? I don't know. And the Ravens could be thinking, you know what? We don't think another team's going to pay more than what we're offering. And that's something that I think is, being overlooked is yes, there's the thought, oh, last year quarterbacks were paid like crazy. But it didn't work out. It's not like the team signed, oh man, we just signed this quarterback and he took us to the playoffs and he went crazy. Think about the quarterbacks that got extensions last year that got big money. It was Derek Carr, it was Aaron Rodgers, it was Deshaun Watson, it was Russell Wilson. Those were the big money contracts that were signed last year. None of those guys made the playoffs. Like, it's not something where we're looking at it. And Josh Allen, I believe, also got a contract extension.
He did.
But it wasn't major, right? Josh Allen wasn't a crazy guaranteed contract. It was a pretty realistic contract. People are thinking Lamar Jackson wants a crazy big contract. Like Josh Allen, he signed that contract extension. It was like, yeah, that's about what he's worth. Like, I don't think anybody was questioning it. Man, you're paying Josh Allen this much. I don't think anybody would question if Lamar Jackson gets paid $48 million a year, paid $50 million a year, majority guaranteed, but not 100% guaranteed. I don't think people would think that's crazy. I think the Ravens would pay that. I don't know if a team goes into the offseason after how poorly last offseason went for big guaranteed contracts. Kyler Murray was another one. How did that work out? They missed the playoffs and he got injured. It's, not that I'm saying, Lamar's going to get hurt or it's not going to work out if he gets a fully guaranteed deal. But you don't want to pay quarterbacks when the last time everybody paid a quarterback, it worked out terribly.
And that's the thing right now. I mean, everybody is hemming and hawing. It's the what if. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, everybody saw what Lamar Jackson could do in the NFL and running a peewee type of football offensive scheme. We haven't really seen him in a pro set offensive scheme in the NFL. Let me reiterate that. No one has seen Lamar Jackson in a pro-style type of offense in the NFL. So what I'm saying is, if you did not watch Lamar Jackson at Louisville, you saw him in a more pro-style RPO type of offense in college, but yet they have not translated to the NFL because they brought in a running guru to be his offensive coordinator, and instead of using his talents of letting him progress as a QB, they use his legs. Now, I feel like that's going to play a part too, and why people may not give him quote unquote big money. Everybody knows he can throw the ball. I know he can throw the ball. If real Ravens fans have been watching Lamar play and haven't been waiting for him to get hurt, those type of bandwagon fans, they know Lamar Jackson can throw the ball. He can be in a shotgun RPO pro set style of offense. The thing is, you have to give him the opportunity and a chance, and you still have to surround him around many weapons. When you look at all the QBs that are now getting paid, and that are leading their teams, what has happened? They've all played to their abilities and strengths. We look at Joe Burrow. They got Jamar Chase. They got Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. Even with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, that hasn't been in the NFL that long. They knew he was a thrower of the ball, and they still didn't, make him run heavy. I mean, he has a body built like a running back, yes, but at the end of the day, he's still a throw first type of style of quarterback. They still respect him as a quarterback. Even Patrick Mahomes, yes, he runs around, but he doesn't run forward. He runs back like Aaron Rodgers and just hopes someone's there 9 times out of the 10 when he just launch it. Aaron Rodgers is the same way. What I'm saying is, when some of these players get in certain situations, they don't always get the full share. They don't get the full benefit, because sometimes sometimes they pretty much saw a stallion, a horse with legs, and then they pretty much say, we're gonna run him down. We're gonna run him down till we can't run him no more. Well, they did that. We saw what happened the past 2 seasons. He got hurt. Outside middle linebackers are running 4.3s, and you got outside linebackers, bench pressing right and left tackles and and tackling him. So it's definitely a lot that's going to be played in because it's an investment. It's an investment on both parts. Lamar Jackson is pretty much invested in this organization, is going to take care of him, and this organization is investing in Lamar Jackson, saying like, hey, we want you to be here, and we want you, to be one of the faces of the franchise, but also, can we get that Super Bowl that you promised too when we drafted you? You muted, McConnell.
Thank you. I think that's fair. I think when you look at the teams that Lamar Jackson could potentially sign to and the teams that, would be looking for him, they just watched the combine, right? The tag deadline being right around the combine is vastly interesting, I believe, because it's something that people look at so often for judging quarterbacks and for judging skill position players. And so for teams that maybe want Lamar, I'm going to look up the draft, right? When you look at the order of the draft and the teams that would be looking for Lamar Jackson, right? We talk about the Jets. The Jets have the 13th pick in the draft. You talk about the Raiders; they have the 7th pick in the draft. The Falcons have the 8th pick. Maybe the Panthers are interested; they have the 9th pick. I've heard the Colts. Those are typically the names that he's been brought up with. Also, the Commanders; they have the 16th pick. Every single one of those teams just watched CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. They watched AR-15, Anthony Richardson. They watched Will Levis. They watched Stetson Bennett. They watched Max Duggan. They watched Tanner McKee. Tanner McKee sucks, by the way. They watched him. They watched the Houston quarterback. They watched all of these guys throw. And some of them had great combines. I think the best combine was actually CJ Stroud. That dude was unbelievable in all of those passing drills. Anthony Richardson also had a great combine athletically. He showed exactly the thing that people were talking about. Ran 4.43, great vertical, crazy athlete. We knew this.
Hold on. Before you go too deep into it, let's see if someone's going to ask him he's going to play wide receiver.
I think teams have learned not to ask that with Lamar Jackson. I think, but they all watched him, right? Yeah. And especially those teams at the top, right? In Atlanta, a Carolina, a Vegas, right? Those teams that would be like interested in Lamar, they just watch those guys. One of those guys is going to be available for them, right? Yeah. I don't know who exactly it's going to be, but one of them will be available for probably all of those teams to take. And so then they have to look at it and go, okay, do we want Anthony Richardson or do we want Lamar Jackson? And I think this question sounds stupid because obviously Lamar Jackson is a better football player, but it's also timeline-wise. People brought up a while back, what if the Ravens traded Lamar Jackson to the Bears? They have the money to pay him. And the problem with that is having a superstar quarterback too early throws off the timeline. So some people want to start young and they want to have a young quarterback so then they can have them on those cheap deals. That is why, a team like the Bears would never trade for, their young quarterback for a team like Lamar Jackson because having, that timeline backed up is a better situation for them. The Carolina Panthers, right? If they add Lamar Jackson, they're throwing the timeline away. So for them, I don't think it makes any sense. Even in Atlanta Falcons, I feel like they're throwing away the timeline. You have these young pieces, right? You have Kyle Pitts, Drake London, AJ Terrell.
Yeah.
Good young pieces. But if you throw Lamar Jackson into that team, they're not all of a sudden becoming contenders. They're just going to be getting worse draft picks for the next couple of years when they're trying to rebuild. So instead, for them, it seems like maybe not even going quarterback this year. They have Desmond Ridder. Maybe taking whether it's offensive lineman, whether it's edge rusher, whether it's cornerback, whatever, maybe more beneficial to help the timeline for when they get a quarterback. So I feel like the non-exclusive tag is not a bad option because I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to be offered a crazy deal. And so if he's not offered a crazy deal and he accepts a deal, the Ravens, I feel like, would take it. And they would accept whatever terms of that deal are. Yeah. Because I don't think he's going to get something crazy.
I definitely feel like it's whatever deal is going to be set out there is not going to, I feel like it's going to be between like that 250, 200. It's going, 200, between that 200, 250 type of 5-7 year deal. with incentives, little guarantee up front. I mean, it's going to work out in Lamar's favor. The only thing is, Lamar's private, which is a great thing. The Ravens organization is private because it's always been something leaking out, and it's like, and that's almost, and it seems like that. It seems like that is with almost every organization. Like every time something is going on with a contract deal or some type of, some type of issue with a player, it's everything starting to come out, and it's like. How long? Why y'all been holding these feelings or these reasons or allegations back for so long? If this person was doing XYZ, let's go ahead square them away from your organization. So I mean, it hasn't gotten to that point yet, which is a good thing. But you keep on hearing the rumor mill. And I got a question for you, McConnell. How much do you feel like the NFLPA is hurting the negotiation talks?
I think the Players Association always is so interesting because they're always in it for themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people that are pushing these things aren't the superstars. They're trying to get the superstars to back them, right? Because they're the common players. They're NFL players. Come on, let's be realistic. But they're the average, right?
Yeah.
If you start giving these big money quarterbacks fully guaranteed deal, maybe get more guaranteed deals for the other players. But Lamar Jackson, I feel like it is hurting. And Asmodeus, thank you so much for the super chat. Always appreciate you coming through. But the way that it's happening, I feel like it's almost. I feel like it's a negative in terms of the negotiations. But we don't know exactly what he's telling them. Like the assumption is they're telling him, "Hey, you should take a fully guaranteed deal." We don't know what they're saying, what Lamar wants. That's the thing about this whole contract is TS, or I don't know why, the Players Association, I don't know why I said TS. Most players have an agent, and the agent leaks the information, right? Because it helps. Leaking information helps in negotiations. Okay, I think people need to understand this. When a team goes out, when someone comes out and they say, "Hey, Kyler Murray's not sitting out. He wants this contract, and he's not going to play until he does," that's not good. And the team looks bad. Oh, they're not paying him that? He deserves that. And it almost always seems like they're able to get a deal done. Or teams start calling that are willing to pay for that deal, right? Hey, I want this deal. Lamar doesn't have that. So he has nobody leaking information, which is good for him.
Yeah.
In that he's able to keep things private. He's a private guy. But it's not throughout, like he's on his own timeline.
No, this is true.
He's not being pushed. An agent, here's the benefit of an agent. Lamar Jackson, I believe, is in Florida right now. If you have an agent's back in Baltimore, right? He's sitting with Eric DaCosta, or maybe he's in Indianapolis. Eric DaCosta is probably in Indy. He's in Indianapolis, and he's talking with EDC every single day. Hey, this is kind of what we're thinking. This is what we want, right? Instead, it's on Lamar's time. And so when Lamar, like we hear like, oh yeah, we've been texting. That's not like, it's much harder for a team to get in contact with him, which is a benefit for Lamar. It hurts the team in terms of how quickly they're able to move.
Yeah.
But with Lamar, it's like he's on his own time, and I wonder if he is. I wish we knew Lamar Jackson's feelings towards the franchise tag or something like that. Is it something where Lamar is going, oh, I really don't want to get tagged, or hey, I kind of want to get put on the non-exclusive tag. I want to test it. We don't know what he's thinking, because an agent would typically be saying, hey man, if you're on that non-exclusive tag, I think these teams are probably pretty interested in you. But instead, it's just Lamar.
Yeah.
And again, I have no problem with him having his own agent. It's just like it becomes so much more unknown and hearsay about what everything's going on. And we've seen that through the media. The media is talking about it like Well, yeah, and every report is like completely backtracking. Oh, Lamar wants this. And then someone the next day goes, yeah, that's not what Lamar wants. Lamar wants this. And then they go, well, the Ravens have offered him this. And the next day, someone's like, nah, they didn't offer him that. But the best deal's on the table now. They're their best deal. And then it's like, what's the best deal? We don't know.
Yeah, I think Josina Anderson, she recently said that they put the offer out there just recently.
Yeah.
And we'll hear something on Tuesday. I feel like this might be I really do feel like this might be the Ravens' best deal. But I'm gonna be honest, if this deal is under $200, that is a slap in the face to Lamar Jackson. I'm just being real.
Rosina Anderson, what's funny is she worded this very well. You can tell she's a professional because she knew how to get the clicks. If you watch the entire video, this is what she says. The Ravens have their best offer on the table. This is to see how the Lamar Jackson's team responds, and they can adjust accordingly. That means it's not the best offer on the table. That means they just threw something out to hear what he has to say, because maybe they say, here's our offer, right? This is kind of our final offer.
Yeah.
But maybe you want, more guarantees, or maybe you want more years, right? And let's say they threw out a 4-year deal, fully guaranteed. Maybe that's what they did. And Lamar goes, I don't want 4 years, man. I want 5. Okay, we'll adjust. And then we'll give you another offer. It's not the final offer. She's like, oh, this is the best deal on the table. Well, yeah, every team's going to say that. No team is going to go in and tell the media, yeah, this ain't our best deal. We'll pay him more. Because the media will tell the player, we'll pay more. I thought it was hilarious because I watched that video. I'm like, best deal on the table. Okay. And then she goes, but they're also waiting to hear Lamar Jackson's camp to adjust accordingly. Well, if you're going to adjust, I don't think that's the best deal.
I feel you with that, man. It's just so interesting. It's funny. I don't see if the Ravens let Lamar walk. I just don't see us going for a quarterback in this year's draft. I just don't.
I agree.
I see the Ravens, if anything, they will finally start they will finally start investing on pieces for that future franchise QB. Go trade. I mean, that would be the smartest thing to do. Okay, if you don't get CJ, of course you don't. At 22, go for that wide receiver. Go for that corner. If Joey Porter Jr. is there, or Cam Smith is there, if Christian Gonzalez is there, I don't know why he would be there at 22, but I'm just talking, y'all. Don't try to beat me down. If he's there, go for him. That third round, if a Rakim, excuse me, because his father did correct some reporter, Rakim Jarrett is there in the third round. I say go after him. Maybe possibly if you find a way to unload Gus Edwards, I know he is right now he still has trade value. See if you can start doing what we did last year in the 4th round and getting those gems where you can develop and get them to play for you. And then next year, depending how we do, maybe go with that Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe go for that Caleb Williams, because Ravens fans have to understand positions that we're not good at drafting at is QB and wide receiver. So take this time to rebuild, put pieces in the office that's going to be under rookie contracts. Either find a way to trade for a more solidified QB, or in the next 3 to 4 years, get that guy that's going to lead us to Super Bowls. Not saying Lamar can't. I'm not saying that, but EDC say he had about 4 or 6 different plans, to work out a deal. Even if it doesn't work out, he got 4 or 6 different type of plans. So, Ravens fans, prepare your hearts. Just prepare your hearts.
Yeah, I think we got to look at this as if Lamar's on the tag, the Ravens are obviously going to still try and extend him.
Yeah,
because him playing on the tag will not be very good because such a big cap hit. in such a, because you're not expecting it, right? You're expecting, okay, we can sign him to the extension and move the money forward so that when we're building the future of the team, we know exactly how to correspond, right? Because if you look at like 3 years down the line, the players on our roster, I think in 4 years, the players on our roster are like, I think it's 3 years. It's like Marlon is getting big money.
Yeah.
Marcus Williams is getting big money. Roquan Smith is getting big money. That's it. It's like throwing a quarterback in there's fine. And then the Ravens can be like, okay, with the other players, we can just figure out how to move the money around and get it set in stone. So drafting a quarterback, though, is, I know it's difficult, but it's really about your scouting department. And if you have the players, the people that can, really scout. And I think a lot of people look at the Rams and it's like, oh man, they're not that good at drafting quarterbacks. I don't understand why that's even a discussion. Why are the Ravens bad at drafting quarterbacks? Like, the Ravens haven't had a Hall of Famer yet, but also they haven't drafted very many quarterbacks.
This is true too.
And they've never had the first overall pick, right? They drafted Joe Flacco in the teens, I want to say. They drafted Lamar Jackson to 32nd overall. Those are the last 2 first-round picks they've spent on quarterbacks in the last 20 years. Oh, it's worked out great. They both became basically franchise quarterbacks. They both developed very well. Like, it's not like the Ravens have been needing a quarterback and struggling in drafting. They've been able to replace their quarterbacks traditionally pretty well. And, if you want to go back, to the early days, they still weren't drafting quarterback early, right?
What round did we draft Kyle Bowler?
Kyle Bowler.
Those were some rough years.
Like I'm seeing the in the third round, I think we drafted a quarterback. Was the first quarterback? Oh, the first quarterback drafted by the Ravens was John Stark, 7th round. The next quarterback the Ravens drafted was 7th round, Wally Richardson. 7th round quarterbacks are basically practice squad guys almost every time. The next quarterback they drafted was Chris Redman in the 3rd, Louisville quarterback. I'm not worried about 3rd round quarterbacks. They didn't draft a quarterback the next year. They drafted 7th round Wes Payton 2002. They drafted Kyle Bowler in the 1st round, but it wasn't their first pick in the 1st round. They drafted him 19th. They drafted Kyle Bowler. Like, let's look at the 2003 NFL draft.
Then I know, like, years later we drafted Troy Smith. Troy Smith won the Heisman that year. We drafted him, I believe.
It's like, okay, there's obviously good players drafted in the draft, but we also drafted that draft Terrell Suggs. So I feel like it was a decent 1st round. I want to say,
out of the 27 years of being an organization in the NFL, surprisingly, we maybe can count on our finger on one hand how many bad seasons we had. Surprisingly,
like Chris Sims went, Seneca Wallace went, Brian St. Pierre went, Drew Henson, Cliff Kingsbury, Brooks Bollinger, Gibran Hanmanen, Ken Dorsey. This was not a quarterback draft. Obviously, Carson Palmer went 1st overall. Byron Leftwich went 2nd or 7th, but he was 2nd quarterback. Kyle Bowler went, and then Rex Grossman went. Rex Grossman was a fine quarterback. I think he's the Chicago Bears all-time leading passer. He's the most in a single season. But, like, it's not like the Ravens have ever had a premium draft pick that they've been able to just go, oh, yeah, we're going quarterback here, which is how you get the good quarterbacks.
Yep.
like you look at the franchise guys right now.
All defenders.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good, but it's like the organization still lives on a nostalgia in a sense, though. Because I mean, I understand, I respect it, and I'm fully behind it. Defense still does win championships at the end of the day. All it comes down, sometimes it comes down to that last drive, that last stop. I truly do believe that defense can still win you championships. But it seems like, with the Ravens still want to be nostalgic, they still take a little bit of, they still have taken their time with getting updated with the times in so many words, in so many senses to me. Um, I mean, I love the moves they make on defense. It helps us out a lot. It does. But offensive teams nowadays are scoring faster and they're wearing us down. We saw what happened when we played against Tennessee the first time in the playoffs. And I mean, granted, we had that bye week, but Derrick Henry and company they was hot. They had the hot hand, and they just wore our defense down. And how many times have you seen the Ravens defense get worn down due to someone's running game? We're known for stopping the run, but that just wasn't our MO. Even this past season, the first couple of games where the offense couldn't put up another drive to keep us winning because we kept on having those 3 and outs, an interception here, a turnover there, things of that nature. You put your defense back out there, they just got you the ball back. They tie it. So what offenses do? They take advantage of it. Throw the deep ball, throw it to the speedy guy that hits our corners with a move and takes up the field for a hell of a yak. So I mean, as much as I love the way that Ozzie Newsome and EDC still stack up on defense, we still have to add more pieces on that offensive side of the ball. And I feel like if John Harbaugh and company is here, I do feel like T. Martin we will see on the development of QBs. I feel like he can play a great part in the development of Lamar Jackson or any other QB, maybe even like Anthony Brown. We'll see how that plays out. Because I still feel like in these times today, we still might need that player on the offensive side that can get us over that hump. Whether it's Lamar Jackson, another wide receiver, hell, if y'all want to get another tight end and stretch them out wide, by all means, if they can help us out, bring them on in. But I still feel like you need that one-two punch combo on the offensive side of the ball, just like we have on defense.
Yeah, and something that I want to bring up because I've been seeing it in the comment section.
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing it on national media. Stephen A. Smith talked about it. Eric DaCosta, not good. He's nowhere near the GM Ozzie Newsome was, and he's being shameful. I think people need to know this. I'm getting close to the mic again. Ozzie Newsome still works for the Baltimore Ravens. He's in the organization every day. He's the executive vice president of player personnel. It's not like Ozzie retired and left and Eric DaCosta's running things into the ground.
Yeah.
He is constantly receiving feedback from his mentor. That was how that entire situation was going to go. Ozzie Newsome did not want to handle the everyday anymore, and he wanted to step to the side, but he still wanted to be involved and help out the organization. So he's doing that by lecturing Eric DaCosta. What is Ozzie Newsome's biggest failure? He overpaid a quarterback. Like, that was his biggest failure. And so people are complaining about Eric DaCosta not living up to the Ozzie Newsome name because he doesn't want to pay his quarterback a fully guaranteed deal or something crazy. When the biggest criticism Ozzie Newsome ever got was Ozzie Newsome made Joe Flacco, who, by the way, put on maybe the greatest postseason run in NFL history. Yep. 11 touchdowns, no picks. And it was like, and Joe Flacco at that time, like, I think people forget, made the playoffs every year of his career. And it was like, I mean, Ravens fans, we were excited when he got that extension, right? Don't make people think like, oh, the Ravens fans were upset. We were excited because Joe Flacco looked like a new guy. It was like, okay, this was the guy, rookie year, goes to the playoffs. I believe loses to the Steelers in the playoffs. Like, he had made the NFC Championship game. He was a Billy Cundiff field goal away from making another Super Bowl. Okay. Yeah. This was not some scrub that wasn't doing anything. No.
Well, Joe Cool in January was the man.
It's not like it was something. I mean, and I'm not trying to say Lamar Jackson is Flacco. That, like, Lamar Jackson is obviously better than Flacco, but the biggest mistake of Ozzie Newsome's career was overpaying on quarterback because he took a step down after he got paid. And I don't think Lamar's going to take a step down. That's not what I'm saying. But you guys got to think about it from a business perspective.
It's an investment on both sides, literally.
Like
That's all it comes down to.
If you guys go into the stock market, or maybe you go into the casino, whatever it is, you walk in, let's say you walk into the casino with $500, right? And you hit big at the poker table. You're up to 50, or you're up to $1,000. No, wait, I started with 500. You're up to $50,000. Huge money. And then you go over and you start playing another game, and you're like, your buddy's like, hey man, let's head out. And you're like, nah, man, I'm feeling it. Let's ride the momentum. That's the Ravens with Joe Flacco, right? You win the Super Bowl. That's the 50,000. They went, let's put it in. Let's keep it going. And then all of a sudden you lose your money. That's what they did with Flacco. They lost their money. Well, now the Ravens are back in the casino. And they're sitting there, and they've got their player that they fully believe in, right? It's $50,000 again.
Yeah.
But in the back of their mind, even though everyone's like, dude, this table is hot, right? You know, you are doing so good at poker. You're taking everybody's money. In the back of your mind, you go, I was feeling this good last time, and I lost it all.
Yeah. You can't be mad at them for being hesitant. You honestly can't.
Like, I don't fault the Ravens. I think a lot of people are getting frustrated with the way that the Ravens are handling it. It makes complete sense. Like, it's not our money. It's not our jobs on the line. Because you guys know what? This is not a scenario that I expect to happen. Not at all. I'm not rooting for this. I have to preface this because every time I say something like this, people go, oh man, you're such a hater. These are things that can happen. If Lamar Jackson gets signed to a $50 million fully guaranteed extension, right, per year, 250 million, 5 years, whatever. And he goes out there and he gets hurt to end the season in the first year, which he's done the last 2 years. He's gotten hurt and hasn't finished the season the last 2 years. And he keeps getting hurt and finishing the season's hurt. Are you guys going to be excited? Man, he was so happy extending Lamar Jackson. No, you're going to look at it and you're going to go, man, Eric DeCosta, Lamar had been hurt the 2 previous seasons. How dare you give him a fully guaranteed deal?
Yeah.
Because that's what we did with Flacco. We wanted Flacco. We wanted him. We were so excited when we extended Flacco. But everyone's excited. I mean, people were excited when we drafted Hollywood. People were excited when we drafted Brashad Perriman. People were excited when we drafted Hayden Hurst. Man, we got our tight end. He just won tight end of the year at South Carolina. He's unbelievable. Not everything works out. Look at the New York Jets media with Zach Wilson. They were so excited, man. They were so excited. Here's the quarterback. This is the guy. And now they're looking back at it and they go, how did you draft that scrub?
They crucified him, man.
Because we, as fans, are not the ones with our jobs on the line. And we like to crucify any failures. Oh, this player that you picked didn't turn out very well. Whatever.
The game, right?
So this idea that it's like, oh man, you just got to pay him. You have to be careful about every decision that you are going to make, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a reason that the NBA put in the Supermax contract, because teams would pay more, right? You look at the best players in the world, Giannis, Jokic, LeBron, whatever. I think a team, right, they're making like $50 million a year, right? I guarantee you there's a basketball general manager that right now would pay LeBron James like $65 million a year. Well over what he could possibly make. But they were like, no, we don't want to do that. Instead, we're going to have to make teams decide. Okay, you only get a certain amount of Supermaxes. You only get a certain amount of rookie extension deals.
Mm-hmm.
In the NFL, it's not like that. You can sign your quarterback to whatever you want. And there's always going to be a team that will pay more, but it's not the MLB. This isn't unlimited money, right? The Ravens aren't the Yankees. If you're a Yankees fan, right,
Definitely
and
not.
you're like, oh my gosh, why aren't we paying Aaron Judge, who just won the MVP, 61 home runs, broke the record? That's fine to be mad at, right? Because they can pay whatever they want. You have to look at it from the perspective of the Ravens are trying to win the Super Bowl. If you pay someone too much, no matter how good they are, if Patrick Mahomes was making $100 million a year, the Chiefs aren't good. Maybe they're not good if he makes 70 million. That would sacrifice a lot.
Yeah.
So this idea where it's like, oh, just give him whatever he wants within reason, right? You can't put all your eggs in one basket for a player. Again, I hope he's okay. I fully believe in Lamar Jackson. I want Lamar Jackson back. But we have to look at this as Lamar Jackson hasn't finished the last 2 years of his career. He hasn't finished the seasons. He's gotten hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, he hasn't finished the last 3 seasons because he got hurt against the Buffalo Bills in the playoff game, got a concussion, but I don't count that.
Yeah. So right now, if you're EDC, would you offer the exclusive tag? If you want to say, hey Lamar, I believe in you. You clearly believe in us. Let's do another one more year of you proving it, and then if you get us to the AFC Championship or to the Super Bowl, right then and there, we sit down and we negotiate on that extension. Because I think it's been about 10, 12 QBs that's been on a franchise tag, and out of those 10 or 12, and maybe like 2 or 3 that didn't sign an extension.
Yeah.
Because Dak Prescott, the most recent ones was Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins. They both was on franchise. They both were placed on a franchise tag twice. They both end up getting, Kirk Cousins left, but still he ended up getting, paid in Minnesota. But Dak Prescott, he got his contract extension as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say that I think the Ravens should do the non-exclusive tag because I think they are offering a better deal than anyone else is going to pay. Like that's my assumption. And also, Dua just commented, so you're saying because he was hurt, he shouldn't get his money. Oh, if a guy just tears his ACL, are you going to give him a full deal? Look at Saquon Barkley. That's why Saquon Barkley doesn't have a deal yet, was because he's coming off of a major injury, even though last year he was great. And he said it. Saquon Barkley even said, he's like, I know I'm coming off of injuries. He's like, I'm not going to get, max money.
And it's not a devaluing of a player. It's still a business investment.
Yeah.
The player is investing in the organization, and the organization is still investing in the player. At the end of the day, it's like just when you sit down with your boss, no one is not saying, as a player or as a worker for any company, not to know your worth. No one's saying that. At the end of the day, if you are a boss, you still have to look out for your company, and you have to look out for your employees. Right now, the Ravens organization is looking out for themselves. Because yes, when Lamar Jackson is playing games, we know his ticket sales go up. We know the games sell out. So we know when Lamar Jackson and Baltimore alone brings in revenue. We know that. We know that wholeheartedly. But they still have to watch out for themselves. And right now, the Ravens organization, they are that person that's trying to get into a new relationship and still thinking about that bad relationship. Right now, the bad relationship was paying Joe Flacco a big deal. We saw what happened to Joe Flacco after he won the Super Bowl. And like McConnell said, he's not saying that Lamar is going to be Joe Flacco all over again at the big contract. It's just being real about the situation. He's been hurt past 2 seasons. Towards the end of the season, yes, we know. Injuries is a part of the game, and me personally, I blame it on the 17-game season. It just puts more wear and tear on the body. It really does. But honestly, from the NFL standpoint, it doesn't matter. Everybody else is still making more money off these guys. That's another conversation for another day. But at the end of the day, Lamar betted on himself this last year. I think Lamar, being the man that he is, being the player that he is, being the type of guy that he is, I think he will want to bet on himself too. I know he wants the contract extension, but I think he will want to bet on himself too. I think, with Todd, and even with the rumors of saying that he didn't get that much input on Todd Monken, I'm pretty sure John Harbaugh did shoot him a text. I'm going to air quote it. Say, hey, man, we are looking at this guy. He just, he won 2 natties back to back, XYZ. We feel like he could be, special to this organization and can help us out a lot. So I'm pretty sure they did have some type of conversation about these OCs. But I do feel like, Lamar wants to bet on himself again. I don't mind anyone betting on himself to prove to anybody or even their organization, like, hey, y'all brought me in to do a job. I said I was going to get a Super Bowl. Let's rock out. Y'all got me a new OC. Now it's time to, give me some weapons. Don't let's get some guys out there that I can throw the ball to. Let's get to work. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
And I think it's so funny because so many people in the chat right now, we're not going to read through the chat. We're doing a podcast right now, but the people that are like, oh man, you guys just aren't Lamar Jackson fans. You're saying he sucks. You're saying that you don't believe in him.
Not at all.
Where are you guys getting this information? Because we consistently say we want to keep him. We like putting Lamar Jackson on the tag is what you do if you want to keep your quarterback. Like, we've never said, don't tag him. Let him test free agency. That's not what we're saying. We're saying tag him. And if someone offers him a better deal, accept it. Accept what they're paying. And then
either match it or
the tag works. The tag, we match whatever they're offered. And then the exclusive, we say you can't look for anybody. And I'm saying let them look and we'll just match whatever they sign. That is exactly, not saying they're the same caliber of player, but the Phoenix Suns in the NBA last season, what they did was they tagged DeAndre Ayton, or they had him on a restricted deal. And they basically went into it saying, you're going to be on our team. The best deal you can get is what you're going to get, and we're just going to accept it. And another team offered him a deal, whatever deal he's on right now. I can't remember exactly what team it was. Maybe it's the Mavericks, whatever. They offered him a deal, and then the Suns went, all right, we'll pay him that. And now look who's playing for the Phoenix Suns is DeAndre Ayton. The tag can work, and I don't understand why people are like, the tag is so bad. This discussion, I can tell a lot of people that are in the chat were not here when I first started, because this is what I said. When I first started, I said, this video, we are talking about the exclusive tag if it comes to that. We want Lamar Jackson to be extended. That is the primary goal. We want Lamar Jackson to be a Baltimore Ravens. We are fans of Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. We want them to stay together. But if they can't get a deal done, let's talk about the best options of how to tag him. Not once have we said, oh man, don't tag him. Like to all the, I'm just curious, to all the people saying that we don't want Lamar Jackson and we aren't fans of Lamar Jackson. I've seen 7 people saying this in the chat. What do you want the Ravens to do if they don't sign him to a deal in the next, what is it, 36 hours? What do you want him to do that we haven't said? That you're saying that we're not Ravens fans because we're saying it. We're saying tag him.
Matter of fact, let's take it a step further. So all the 7 people that's in the chat saying that we're not Ravens fans or Lamar Jackson fans, I can tell that you guys just came on and started listening to the podcast. If you guys have been listening to the podcast by any means necessary, what have we been doing for Lamar? We've been advocating since day one, since the MVP season, since Greg Roman has not just used his arm, been just using this young man's legs. So if you're saying that we don't like Lamar Jackson, I guess we don't like Lamar Jackson. I'm not gonna maybe go back, watch a couple episodes, drop a comment, share it with your friends or whatever, and all publicity is good publicity. We like it. We love it.
And I want to answer this question from Miguel. He says, TTB, I have a question. If it's non-exclusive and they match it, however, the contract is too long, so maybe let's say Lamar signs a 6-year deal or whatever, does those contracts go into that deal? Yes. However, this is the other thing that happens with the non-exclusive deal. This is what can happen. Lamar Jackson goes and talks to the New York Jets, right? And they talk about a 5-year, $250 million deal, fully guaranteed. He's still in conversations. Like, he can come back to the Ravens. It's not like the Ravens are cut off. And he can go back to him and be like, hey, right now I'm being offered, 250. People want to pay me this. Obviously, I want to be with you guys. And the Ravens go, okay, they're paying that. We'll give you this deal instead. Like, it's when Lamar Jackson signs the deal with the Jets for that money, then the Ravens specifically have to accept that specific deal or get those 2 first-round picks. If like that's how that works. So like Lamar Jackson can be talking with these teams and tell the Ravens, this is what I'm hearing. This is now what I want. And the Ravens go, okay, like you're talking about, $50 million a year fully guaranteed, but maybe he's talking 6 years. Maybe they go, hey man, we'll give you 5. We'll give you 5 years. We'll have a 6th. The 6th isn't fully guaranteed. That's how they can do it without him ever signing anything. He can still agree and talk about it. And also to the person that said that Steve Biscotti is too cheap. The Ravens pay to the maximum every year. So I don't know where this Biscotti is cheap or Biscotti is cheap. He pays to the maximum. This isn't baseball. This isn't baseball. He's not the Oakland A's. They pay to the max every time. Every single time they pay to the max. And Ravens fans are always like, man, they're so cheap. They're not cheap. They're paying to the max. Now, if you want to complain about philosophy and where they put their money, that's different. But that's not being cheap. That's allocating resources, the same amount of resources to other areas, right?
I mean, honestly, we can't win or lose with,
That's true. We can't win or lose.
So I mean, I get it. I get where the frustration comes from, guys. We really do. We really do. But I mean, at the end of the day, if this is going to be your team, we want to rock and roll with them. Like I said, as much as I would love Lamar Jackson to stay here, me mentally, I'm low key prepared for the 3 to 4 year rebuild.
Here's the thing. I don't even know if it's a 3 to 4 year rebuild because the Ravens have such a good defense.
Well, yeah.
Like they could be bad. Like this year, if the Ravens lose Lamar, like this year's a wash. Like the Ravens aren't going anywhere. But they still would have an elite defense, top 5 defense, top 2 defense. Could be the best defense next year with a full off season of Roquan.
Yeah.
Like also they have a good run game. So it's like they could be an 8-8 team without Lamar. Or
and the next year is a
7-win team.
And the next year is a better draft class of running backs too. If we let Gus walk or even let JK walk.
Like
honestly, like my quarterback for next year, I'm just saying, in the draft is the guy that is Isaiah Likely's old QB out of Coastal Carolina. He actually just transferred over to Charlotte, University of Charlotte. But he's a good developmental guy, in my opinion.
Yeah. And Miguel, this is a good question. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about good questions, guys, if you guys want to talk about it. On the podcast, guys, if you guys are still listening, once we get 50 reviews on Apple Podcasts, we'll be doing a jersey giveaway. So
make sure you get over there.
We have gotten some reviews since we announced that. So if you guys want to check it out, review over there. It does really help out. But Miguel says, TTB, do you think they will offer Lamar the latest offer they have before the Tuesday deadline? Yeah. I mean, they're going to try and get a deal done before the deadline. It's just whether or not Lamar accepts. And Lamar could be like, okay, I like this deal. We just don't have the time. Put me on the tag. We'll negotiate. That's how it works. Like, just because the tag is signed doesn't mean the deal can't be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people miss that fact because, with some teams, it's difficult, right? The New York Giants are in a situation This is how the situation is going. They want to keep Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. They can only tag one of them. So they are aggressively trying to get a deal done before the deadline, because if they don't, one of them will test free agency. And they will have to choose. And they will probably choose tagging Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. Actually, I guarantee they choose tagging Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. The Ravens aren't in that situation.
Yeah.
They want to tag one guy. It's Lamar. So they're not in a, like, that's why signing Roquan to that extension was so crucial, because they were like, okay, we can't be in a spot like the Giants where they go, okay, we have 2 days to sign either Roquan or Lamar Jackson, or we can't keep both. But instead, we did do that extension. We did the smart thing. And now we're in a spot where we're going to tag Lamar, which was the expectation, was tagging Lamar. Or maybe, we luck out and we get a deal before then. But tagging Lamar isn't a bad thing. And whether or not it's an exclusive or not exclusive tag doesn't, I think, affect the Ravens too much, because they're still going to try and negotiate with Lamar to get a deal. If they sign him to the non-exclusive, they can still be the ones that extend him and sign him to a contract. It doesn't mean he has to sign somewhere else and then the Ravens decide to match. He can sign the non-exclusive, not talk to another team, and sign an extension with the Ravens the next week. He can do that. The only reason for the tag is to allow yourself to have the option, so that you have a little bit of hope in free agency, because you don't want Lamar to walk, right? As an OKC fan, when we let Kevin Durant walk in free agency, he went, talked to the Warriors, decided he was like, he's talked about it since. He was like, I fully planned on re-signing with OKC, but man, I heard that Warriors pitch and it was so good that I accepted it. So the tag keeps those situations from happening to one player on your team every year that you can choose. And Greg Wallace asked, will he play on the tag? I think that's a good question. I think absolutely, because I think Lamar Jackson wants to play football.
He literally playing on his 5th-year option doesn't give a testament of him just being a player, him just winning the ball, him still want to prove himself. I think that speaks volume if he plays on the tag or not. I don't think he's at. It has to be a real bad situation for him to be tagged by the Ravens and him to not say, hey, I'm not going to play under the tag. I'm not going to show up, anything of that nature. For him to just be on holdout type of time. And I don't think that's Lamar Jackson. Right now, he hasn't shown that. He just, he's living his life. He's doing his other business ventures. He's a young man doing him.
Absolutely. I think it's like Lamar Jackson has one, like, here was the mentality of the Ravens offer last year that we've heard, and I think it was right, and it was like, 130 million guaranteed, whatever, and it basically came out to the same amount of money that it would be tag extension.
Mm-hmm.
So Lamar was like, nah, I'll just play on the tag. That was the mentality that he had, was, I'm getting that money anyway. If I ball out, they'll give me more.
Yeah.
So
it just falls down, it just falls down, on what they do in free agency and what they do in the draft. I feel like the moves that they make in free agency is going to take a lot of pressure off on them in the draft.
And I want to bring something up.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua,
talk to me.
There's been a lot of great Baltimore Ravens. Who's the greatest Ravens pass rusher of all time?
Ooh, gotta go with T Sizzle.
Gotta go with T Sizzle, right?
Gotta go with Boston Park University, of course.
I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
He was franchise tagged 2 times in the middle of his career. But guess what? He stayed a Raven. Oh, wow. I'm shocked. The people that are just saying oh man, if you get tagged, he's gone. No, that's not true. That just means they couldn't come to a deal. like he was tagged twice in 2008 and 2009. He was put on the tag. Haloti Ngata was put on the tag. Chris McAllister was put on the tag. The Ravens have put players on the franchise tag, and they've kept them. It just means, okay, we want you on the team. Like, the franchise tag is a good thing. People that act like, oh man, the Ravens.
It shows value. Honestly, it's a respect thing. Like, yo, we still want, even though we can't come to terms right now, we still want you on the team.
Yeah. I think, someone saying Yamani says seems disrespectful. I think it's the highest praise. It's like, hey man, because first off, the tag you were paid, I believe, is like basically I think it averages out like 90% of the top paid, or it's about the fifth highest paid at your position. If you get tagged, because there are players that are tagged that are not top 5 at their position, right? Daniel Jones may get the tag, right? Daniel Jones is not a top 5 quarterback.
Very true.
I would say he played like a top 10 quarterback last year. I wouldn't put him in the top 10, but he had a top 10 season last year. But he's going to be paid like the 5th highest quarterback in the NFL. That's respect. That's them saying, look, man, we're going to take a hit to, for you to stay with us. And we want to agree, like the tag is saying we want to agree to a long-term deal. It's not some desperate attempt to keep them for one more year. And that's not how the Ravens have approached it. You can do the tag in hopes of a sign and trade, but that is not what the Ravens are doing. The Ravens are not tagging Lamar Jackson with the, oh man, we're going to get a big trade to happen once we tag him.
I don't think the Ravens want to take that type of hit. Like I know we're not talking about other players, but I know, would this technically be PQ's 5th year? I think that, and I think that I don't see PQ.
I think no, this will be PQ's 4th year.
Okay. So
because Hollywood was drafted first round right after Lamar.
Okay. So I mean, even with PQ, that's going to be another guy you got to sit down and have contract talks with. But I don't think it's going to be that bad because he's a weak inside linebacker, and I feel like we'll probably give him the type of deal we gave Peanut, because we gave him a contract extension too at one point in time as well. So I mean, there's going to be things that's going to be worked out. One thing we can say about the Ravens organization, yes, they know how to penny and dime, nickel and dime, excuse me, but they do know how to keep guys in-house. They will work aggressively and hard to keep some guys in-house, whether it be some guys that we do not like or some guys that we truly do love and has played a strong contribution. Like, I think one of the guys that I've truly missed that we let walk was Adelius Thomas.
Yeah.
Like, that hurt me, because I think he did end up winning the Super Bowl with New England as well.
So, I think he did, yeah. Also, Joshua, who's the greatest kicker in history?
He's currently on a team right now.
Yeah, this guy Justin Tucker. I would agree. I could see the argument for Vinatieri if someone wants to.
I get it. I respect that.
I get it. But I would say he had a major importance on the Baltimore Ravens team, right? This is somebody that you needed to keep. Ravens tagged him. Played on the franchise tag. It's not a disrespectful thing. It's purely saying, listen, we want you here fully, and we want to continue these negotiations to keep you here. And what did they do with Justin Tucker? They re-signed him. They agreed to a deal after the tag. Like, it's not like, also, we also tagged Ray Rice, another player. Very crucial. Won the Super Bowl with him as our number 1 running back. And the reason Ray Rice didn't stick around with the Baltimore Ravens was not because of his play on the field. like that was not the Ray Rice was our, was going to go down as the best running back in team history. I fully believe that. Unfortunately,
second best
off the field happened, and so now he's number 2 behind Jamal Lewis.
Yeah.
But like, we are just sitting there like everyone's going to negotiate differently. Some guys want it. Like, some guys clearly want to get in and out of negotiations. Like, they don't care. Right. I think Roquan Smith. I think Roquan Smith was someone that was just like, I just want to get my contract and move on. And he talked about it. He was like, yeah, I could have gotten more money in free agency. But he's like, but I like this organization. I want to stay here. That's a totally fine approach. Happens all the time. Guys are like, they go through negotiations very quickly. You see it with the rookie draft, right? Where some guys get drafted, they sign that contract day one, right? They get that deal and they go, yep, signed. Then you get guys like Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa missed games of the NFL season his rookie year because he hadn't agreed to a contract. Some guys really want to, fight and get exactly what they want. And I'm not saying there's a bad way to do it.
Yeah.
Different negotiation tactics for different people. So Lamar Jackson clearly is someone that wants to negotiate for, to get the exact deal that he wants. And that's fine. And if you're going to take your time in the NFL, you have to know that you're going to get tagged if you are a valuable person to that team. And some people negotiate longer. Some people don't. That's not something that people should get frustrated at the organization for taking so long. Is sometimes you go out there. I work in sales. All right. Sometimes when you're negotiating, you can tell from right then, maybe you start off with the price and we'll use NFL numbers and you go, I'll pay $50 million a year. And Lamar asked initially 55. And if Lamar goes, you know what, I'll come down, I'll do 54 right away. Then you go, okay, he's willing to negotiate. We can go through this quickly. And then you kind of keep going. And you settle on 52.50, right in the middle, whatever. Or there's situations where you say, hey, well, we want to pay you 50. And then he goes, I want 55. And you go, is there any wiggle room? He goes, I want 55. You go, okay. What if he threw in like these side incentives? He goes, I want these side incentives, but I want 55. That negotiation is going to take longer. Like if you have a specific contract that you want, it's going to take longer and take energy to convince them maybe to take a different deal or, for him to convince you to take that deal. It's not like negotiations go in completely different ways. I have some negotiations where it's very quick. I have negotiations that take way longer than they ever should have to move up. I'm not dealing with $50 million. I'm dealing with much lower amounts, but it's like $50. The amount of time I've negotiated with someone over $50, absurd. And I am in a very quick-paced sales job, not in some sales job that's taking, hour. Typically, the negotiations are 2 minutes. And I'm negotiating for 10 times that amount over $50. I'm like, man, get off the phone. But that's some people's negotiation strategy. They're very, very adamant. And other quarterbacks are going to get some contracts quicker. And maybe that's because they just want to get it done and they don't care. Or maybe the teams are looking for the same thing. Because the Ravens and Lamar look for the same thing. They want to be together, right? Yeah. It's the same thing with a relationship. Maybe you want to be together with your significant other, and you both want to be together, but they want kids. And then you're like, okay, now we got to negotiate, right? And maybe you end up having kids, and you guys decide on that. Maybe you don't, whatever. But that's negotiation, and that takes time. The Ravens and Lamar are sitting there, and they're like, we want to be together. Lamar's like, I want to play for the Ravens. But Lamar's like, I want it fully guaranteed. The Ravens are like, we'll give you more years. And Lamar's like, more guaranteed fully? He goes, no. How do you get that closer? You either offer more money or Lamar Jackson says, nope, we don't want to do a guaranteed contract. We can do that. Or you say, all right, we'll fully guarantee it. And you close that gap. It's who's going to close that gap first. Sometimes you have negotiations and you want different things, but you want the overall same thing. That's just how it goes. Sometimes it takes longer.
Yeah, man. I mean, eventually, man, if it's meant to be, it will happen, y'all. And for the record, we are hoping for it to happen. But I mean, if things do take another direction, I wouldn't be mad at some picks. I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't be mad at some picks.
Here's the thing. As much as the Ravens could negotiate, there's a chance where Lamar Jackson doesn't accept a single deal. and there's nothing like if you I don't like this analogy because I feel like it's too personal, but whatever, I'm going to use it. I think is the best one. If you adamantly don't want kids and your significant other adamantly wants kids, no matter how much you guys want to be together, it may not work out. And that is extremely unfortunate. I hope that doesn't happen to anybody, but it's possible. Some people just don't want kids. Some people don't like kids. That could happen. And you know what happens sometimes? Is sometimes that person that wants kids, that really wants kids, they find someone else that does want kids. And it works out for them. And the person that didn't want kids, they find someone for themselves that also doesn't want kids. And they all live happily ever after. And it can work out. Sometimes it doesn't. And then the guy that didn't want kids is like really upset and, lives a sad rest of his life. Whatever. Hopefully that's not the Ravens.
Watch out, McConnell. They might try to hurt you in the comments after that one player. but I mean,
it can work out. Yeah. Sometimes they split and it doesn't work out for either of them. And they need to come back. And they come back 3 years later and they go, all right, we just need to be together. Come on, let's do this. But if the Ravens and Lamar Jackson truly can't agree on a contract, because Lamar, here's the thing. We don't know what Lamar's asking. What if Lamar Jackson was out there asking $60 million fully guaranteed 7 years? The Ravens aren't paying that. The Ravens, there's no way they pay that. No team's paying that. That's too much to ask. And so maybe they split for a second. They go, you know what? Why don't you go test your options? Mm-hmm. And then he comes back and he goes, yeah.
It ain't so sweet out there, baby. Can I come home?
Exactly.
Oh man.
And it's not like if Lamar leaves, it's not like the Ravens aren't getting anything. We're getting picks. We're getting it's not like he leaves, we're screwed. If he leaves, which again we don't want, but if he truly wants something different than what the Ravens are asking, no matter what Ravens fans can't do anything. We can't get the Ravens to agree to a deal. This is the Ravens organization, and I understand. If someone doesn't want to be a fan of the Ravens after it. For me, it's always going to be Ravens first. I'm a full believer in team first. It's been brutal watching basketball the last couple of seasons, but as an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, it's been brutal. But I'm in it for the team. I'll still root for players. I wish the best for Lamar if he leaves. I'll watch his games. I'll root for him. Still got him on my fantasy team. I'm not dumb. It's great for fantasy football, but this is the organization that we all chose, right? It was the Baltimore Ravens organization, a team that fundamentally believes in defense first and running the football. That is what we believe in. And unfortunately, having a superstar quarterback, the Ravens may not be willing to pay, an absurd contract. And maybe it's not absurd. I'll be upset if Lamar walks and gets $30 million a year fully guaranteed. I'll be like, okay, Ravens, what are you doing wrong? That's real bad. But I highly doubt it. If he leaves, he's going to get a big contract, and you wish the best for him. But at the same time, from the team's perspective, you gotta do what's best for the organization. I think no matter how much you like your best employee, if you can't hold on to him, it's not worth overpaying, right? If he says, give me this promotion or I quit, no matter how much you like that employee, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's your brother, whatever it is. If they don't deserve that promotion or you don't feel they deserve that promotion, you may have. And I don't believe in owner first. I believe in organization first, MDT. I think there's a very different. If Steve Bisciotti sells the team and becomes an owner of another team, I'm not going, I'm now a Cleveland Browns fan because Steve Bisciotti owns the team. It's not like I was an Art Modell fan. It was you're a Ravens fan now, baby. That was not how I became a Ravens fan. That was not how it started. It's organization. That's me. So, and I understand the idea of, if Lamar leaves, I'm leaving. That's fine. It's a different type of fan, and everybody is allowed to, enjoy football in their own way.
Just don't burn y'all jerseys. I know y'all paid on. If y'all pay for the real ones, y'all pay 150 and up. Like, don't burn them. Try to sell it if anything.
Would you trade Lamar for Justin Herbert? The Chargers wouldn't trade Justin Herbert for Lamar.
You're bugging.
I mean, I don't know. I don't see much of it. I think they're both like pretty even. Like if you want a run first offense, you go Lamar. If you want to have just like a crazy air raid offense, you probably go with Herbert. But like,
Yeah.
I think Herbert's a great quarterback. They're probably both top 6. So, and Miguel asked if it's non-exclusive, do you think the Ravens will match? Yeah, I do. That's why I think the Ravens should do the non-exclusive, is so that they go, hey, why don't you go see what you'll get? We'll match it. Like that's a negotiation strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if someone says, I'm going to sell, you know, maybe you have a signed basketball. This is called eBay bidding, right? I want to buy, hold on. I've actually got some sports cards right here. Let's see if I can grab it. All right, here we go. All right, I actually have a good card on hand. All right, I want to buy this Joel Embiid rookie card, right? 9.5. It's out of 25. If I want to buy this card, and the seller tells me I want $10,000. This card is not worth $10,000, by the way. I want it for $10,000. And I go, nah, you're not selling it for $10,000. But you know what? You go around and you find somebody that'll pay whatever the highest amount you'll pay. I will match that and I will give that to you. So he walks around and he goes to everybody in the convention, the card convention. And he's like showing this card. He's like, all right, I got someone for $700. All right, I got someone for $900. Got someone for $1,500. That's the most I found. He comes back to me and goes, hey, man, I got someone for $1,500. And I go, all right, I'll pay you $1,500 or I'll pay you $1,600. Maybe he asked for an extra $50 or whatever. But yeah, I'll pay that. Here you go. Boom. Slide him the money. Because I bet it's going to be cheaper. Or it's eBay bidding where you say starting bid is at $10. That's what Lamar Jackson could do. But the Ravens have the option to be like, all right, whatever happens, I'll just pay that. like I think, you know, shout to Joel Embiid. This is definitely the most valuable card in my collection. But my favorite card is this guy. Shout out to basketball fans. Shout out to Alexei Pokusevsky. It's just a random Poku card.
Oh man, my brother had a rookie MJ card.
Oh, was it a Fleer or was it a Star?
I think it was a Fleer.
Oh, that's so nice, man.
Yeah, man. I don't know where he's collecting that now, but yeah.
Also, when did I say that if I had Lamar, I'm saying he's no better than Justin Herbert? Justin Herbert is better in certain situations. Lamar Jackson is better in certain situations. I never said.
All right. So I was just popping at that question.
It's like,
did you get a chance to talk about Rashad Bateman and his comments, or we
not talking about? I think we should say that for the podcast on Wednesday.
Right, cool.
I think we should say that for the podcast on Wednesday for sure.
Okay. All right. I'm leaving it be.
Oh my gosh. Now people are going to come after me because I'm like, oh man, I think Herbert's a better passer than Lamar. Which I did not know that was a hot take to say, Ravens fans. I'm sorry.
All publicity is good publicity. You know what? While y'all at it, if y'all going to go ahead and talk about McConnell real bad, just put it in the comments on Apple Podcasts. You know, shameless plug. Shameless plug, guys.
It's a good shameless plug. All right. I think that's a good spot to wrap it up. Thank you everybody so much for listening, so much for watching. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, like Joshua said, go give a review. We're giving away a jersey at 50 million, or not 50 million, 50 million podcast reviews would be very nice. But 50 podcast reviews is what we're looking for. We'll be giving away a jersey. We'll also do some sporadic jersey giveaways as well, purely on the podcast platform. So go check it out. We got the new logo. Let us know how it looks. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see all of you again next time.